Hello, gorgeous being of light, radiant human life. I hope you are having a stunning day. I hope every moment that you engage with is pure and peaceful, and I hope you get everything that you desire. Welcome back to the Earth and I YouTube channel. Shayna here. Apologies for a late upload this week. But today, this month, is 1 year of the Earth and I YouTube channel. Yay! Thank you so much for being here on this journey and being part of this Earth and I community. I extend so much gratitude and love for each and every one of you, for you who's watching this video, for you who is exploring the plane of life, for you who is tapping into higher consciousness and exploring what you're called to. And it's really full circle for me because I'm actually recording in a park, which is the first place I ever recorded a YouTube video. It was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. And as I contemplate it, it's beautiful that we have the power to kind of create, not kind of, we do have the power to create the life that we want, create the experiences that we desire. And it just starts with small action. I was spending time in the park just contemplating life, writing, drawing, living, and I just decided to set my phone up and make a video and talk about what was kind of filling in my heart at the time, which was the power of infinity. And you can check that out if you want. That was my first ever video that I recorded and uploaded with the intention of sharing. And to be here a year later with a gorgeous community here is absolutely mind-blowing and beautiful. And I hope that that inspires you and empowers you to realize that you can have and do whatever you want. You know, the external validation is beautiful, but that's not everything. What you really want is exposure of your soul. And by getting to know yourself and accepting the desires that you have, that will empower you to take action. And I know that you are worthy of everything that you desire and even more. God puts ideas, plant seeds in our minds and our hearts in order for us to nourish and allow them to blossom within us and therefore grow without us. So today's video is going to be about the power in realizing our judgments. And I'm going to pair that with exploration of the truth of really questioning if you want change in your life and how sometimes the answer is no. Why this is powerful is we're going to explore the balancing of the conscious and the unconscious mind, specifically in terms of change, which is one of the most powerful flows of the universal intelligence. So we're going to flow right into it. Deep, deep welcome, and I hope that you just let yourself flow with me. And with that, we will reveal a new state of consciousness together. We will step out of this. You will walk away from this video with a deeper understanding on the next page of your journey and a way to really turn over that new leaf. So here we flow. Being able to recognize times when we are judging is extreme power. And you might ask why, or you might shame yourself out of really realizing that you're judging. And I encourage you not to do that. Judgment is part of this experience. It is a form of communication. And how it's a form of communication is that it is our internal system kind of budging on something that has been deeply rooted or hidden. When we're able to heighten our consciousness and actually notice, I'm judging that person, I'm judging that lifestyle, I'm judging that idea, we are drenched then in wisdom of why we're choosing judgment to observe that thing. A lot of times, what we're judging is what we're meant to explore, what we're being called to dive into. And the reason why judgment is kind of separating us from that is because of these internalized concepts that we've been indoctrined into living through. And it doesn't always mean that, you're supposed to become what you judge. All it means is that that judgment, that trigger, is signifying to you, this is something really effing deep. This is something that goes beyond my conscious brain. This is a really deep rooted either concept, trauma that needs to be uprooted. And the fact that I'm able to acknowledge the fact that I'm judging somebody on this, I'm judging something on this, allows us to look at it in a new light. When we aren't very conscious, when we're unconscious in terms of judgment, we kind of ride out that wave of ego, superiority, or inferiority, and we go on the same conditioned mindset that we've had in the past. When our consciousness begins evolving, we can see when we're judging, and we can see to step back and kind of ask for the why, to dive into a shadow territory. And it's really beautiful because that can inspire really deep conversation, whether it's with somebody we love, whether it's with ourselves, whether it's with our journal. And we can figure out something that's been hiding from us, that's been, absorbing our light in a way that is fueling the ego, fueling the separation of the world rather than feeding our souls. Judgment goes along with change because when we begin changing, when we become a new version of ourselves, internalized judgments do come up. And with that, we can realize why we've put off change so much. And it's because we're judging something about that. We're judging something about that version for X, Y, or Z. Our conscious mind is the go-getter, especially when we tune into it and we really begin programming ourselves to move through life in a way that is evolutionary. It wants change. It wants to move. It wants new. It wants fresh. It wants continuations, all these gorgeous things. But we have to take into consideration, we have a whole other system tied to that conscious mind, and that's our subconscious. When we are in a conscious state of desiring change, sometimes we get out of whack, and we will be able to notice that in the way that we feel, the actions that we're taking, the way that things are playing out. They're not really aligning. And many times that means that our subconscious may not be ready to take that change that we're striving for so heavily. This is a powerful place. It is very powerful to realize, okay, this change isn't ready to fully blossom yet. Why? When we can sit with that and ask ourselves, do I really want change? Initially, our conscious mind is going to be, obviously, like, I want all these things. Like, I'm kind of saying that egoically, sorry. But when we ask ourselves, do we really want change? Our initial answer when we're exploring higher consciousness from the conscious mind is yes. But when we choose to sit with it, and we will sit with it when we know something is not aligning, we get pulled deeper into our subconscious, and we will find something that hasn't been completely worked through. Connect that to judgment. We can find an easy pass by paying attention to what we've been judging recently. Connect that with what hasn't been worked through in our subconscious mind. Take the time to meditate on that, to work it out of our system, to conversate on it, to share perspectives on it, and that will trigger our conscious mind to realize, oh my gosh, we have healed this aspect of self. We've worked through this shadow territory, and then the cycle unfolds and we can really step into that new state of change. And there's no time frame for that. It just kind of happens naturally, like most things. But it's a really beautiful connection that we can make between judgment, subconscious, conscious, and change. Let me try to format that a little clearer. So say you really want to change your perception of self, the way that you look at yourself. Maybe you've been putting yourself in boxes of any boxes, whether it's you're a nature person, you're quiet, you're you're outgoing, you've kind of had these things and you're ready for a higher understanding of who you are. When you bring that into your conscious mind, it triggers your subconscious to pull up all the deep-rooted ideals of identity that you have. And as we know, that begins being projected into our external world. We begin seeing reflections of whether it's unrealized potential, it's identities that we've held, it's deep-rooted ideas that we have about self, positive or negative. And when that starts happening, judgment comes in, and we can see what aspects we're judging, whether it's from aspects of the future that we're judging or aspects of the past that we're judging. We can pay attention to these concepts that we are interacting with in a dark kind of energy. From there, we can sit with him and ask, is this what I'm becoming? Is this what I'm letting go of? And when we begin moving into that, we have to keep the question open-ended. We have to allow for the universe to kind of construct the identity that is most serving of where we are on our path right now. So when we continue doing that, when we continue to prioritize the example of creating a new sense of self, a new identity, a new perception, we allow the spring cleaning to happen. You open the doors of your soul and you allow everything to come out. You start seeing it out there. You begin being drawn to certain aspects. You begin judging certain aspects. And as you stay true and stay committed to the frame of reference that is change, you can move through in consciousness. And your conscious mind is paying attention to what is kind of halting you on this journey. And in that, you have the power to integrate what is stopping this abundant flow from happening. I used identity because so much of our life experience, so much of our external world is rooted in our perception and our identity, because it's what we believe we are. Even though we're these multidimensional, oh my gosh, absolutely amazing beings, our human mind needs something to kind of lay as a basis. So it's really important that we check these belief systems before we really start creating our new reality. And so I kind of went off the example, but I'm going to wrap it up with, when you do that spring cleaning, you get to co-create that identity with universe. Like I said, we have to keep the question open-ended, but what our conscious mind got to explore is very, very useful. What the conscious mind picked up on in terms of judgment, in terms of what we're attracted to, that's very important. And we feed that into the system that is the universe, and therefore birth a new identity, a new frame of reference for us to work with as we move through life. So I'm going to broaden the conversation a little bit again and bring attention to how powerful it is. Again, I think I kind of touched on this, but I want to I really want to reaffirm this truth, that it is extremely powerful to be able to consciously recognize when you are judging something. When you have that window of clarity, you are about to unearth something very, very powerful. It's like, you're pulling weeds and you get to that point where it's like, oh my gosh, it's really tough. It's tight, but it's about to come out if you just pull it right. That's kind of like judgment. And you can see past the judgment and realize, you're not being hateful. It's kind of a natural thing that happens when we have these shadow aspects within us. And when you can make things impersonal too, say you're judging a lifestyle, when you can make it impersonal, that's when you can really see the knowledge that's there. That's when you can really get the message. Say you're judging a person, the way that somebody lives. You're not actually judging that person, because if you're thinking like that, you're in the state of ego, which of course serves us just as well. But in terms of this conversation, of this way of moving through life, you have to go beyond that state of reference. You're not judging the person, you're judging what's being reflected through them. You're judging something that's coming up in you that you're seeing in them. Now, when you can practice that pause, sometimes we can get sucked into trying too hard to figure out, like, why am I judging this person? Why am I judging this? Why am I judging that? And that's not the significance. It's, what am I looking at? what am I seeing right now that is not sitting well with me, that is causing the water to kind of boil? And as we know, when water's boiling, you can't see, there's no clarity. You allow it to sit well, you allow it to, you welcome it, you welcome that idea, that mindset, with the intention of changing it. And that's the most important thing too, when you're really noticing the forms of judgment that you may be having, realizing that you're judging yourself. You're judging something that you identify with, something that is deep rooted, something that may be hidden. And it's actually freaking awesome because it empowers us to not be inferior or superior. It empowers us to truly be and to truly look at the big picture, to see everything, and to empower the truth of evolution, the inevitable unfolding and the continuation of life itself. And this kind of came up for me when I really felt my life was changing. I felt it was happening. It's happening all the time, but sometimes it's more prevalent and more at the forefront than others. And, I found myself really judging things I saw online in my real life. And I'm like, what's going on? I, myself, am changing massively. And when we're stepping into that new paradigm, it's kind of like a test of whether we are going to kind of hide away or we're going to lean into the judgment, lean into the questioning, and see the true revelation of what we've been manifesting. It's absolutely beautiful. And we're going to wrap up on the conversation with change. I may be repeating myself a bit, but I really want it to be clear that sometimes we need to unlearn just as much as we need to learn, aka we need to devolve as much as we need to evolve. And what devolve means in my book is we need to lean back into where we are right now and allow the chrysalis to kind of fall off. Yes, we're evolving, but we're losing a big part of self. And sometimes that requires all of our attention. Even if subconsciously, we have that evolutionary mindset, we have to be willing to sit back and be exactly where we are so that we can make sure we cross all our I's, we cross all our I's, we dot all our I's, we cross all our T's. And all that really takes is real self-inquiry, self-questioning, and to get in touch with the vulnerable side of who we are. And to realize it's not a race, it's a journey. If you need to stay where you are for a couple days, for a couple months, mentally, physically, spiritually, that's what you need to do. You don't need to constantly go, 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 become, 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 become. Yes, it's beautiful, and yes, we do that, but it's not so fast paced like that. And I think we have a lot of internalized pressure on ourselves to continually become new. And we just have to realize the flip side of that. And sometimes we aren't fully ready for that true becoming. It requires us to go a little deeper, to learn a little more first. And that's okay. It's a beautiful part of this all of everything. And we all go about it in a different way. But the overarching theme is to be in touch with what's going on and don't be afraid of what's revealed. If you had this awesome game plan, this, you had it all mapped out, and just one thing is like, oh, I don't know. And if you're seeing that kind of being mirrored in your life, just slow down and be where you are. It's going to happen even more perfectly. It always does, and it happens to all of us. And that's going to wrap up the flow today. What can we end on a little? Realize that everything has significance. Everything is an encoded message, and it's freaking crazy, but it's not always as deep as we try to make it out to be. That's really important too, is to realize that sometimes it's just like, okay, I got it, and you move on to the next thing. We try to wrap ourselves up a little too much in certain ideals and aspects, but only then do we learn the power of perception, the power of, oh, what's that beautiful word? Oh my goodness. Discernment, the power of discernment. Discernment is kind of when we can use our consciousness to decide what's real, what's not, what's worth our time, what's kind of, just an empty passing. And it's a superpower. I really hope you enjoyed this flow. Really tapping into some kind of wounded energy today. It's kind of been coming up for me recently, and I realize that that is really, really the power. That's the juice. That's the gold, baby. Is those energies, those places where it can feel the most dark, the most unnerving. But the more that we can connect in that plane and empower us in that way together as one, and realizing we're all kind of experiencing these energies just in their own unique vibrations in our lives, that's when we can heal the collective consciousness and really step into our fullest potential. And we're doing that. It's amazing. I have been a little bit behind on the stories and stuff. I'm blown away by the beauty of these submissions and the generosity of all of you. I have some exciting things coming up in the next couple of months that I'll be excited to share with you, but just want to express deep love and super, super gratitude to this community. I love this place. I say it all the time, but yeah, I just really want to end on that kind of. And I would love to connect with you deeper. If you want to connect on the Instagram, the website, those are all linked around here. And if you are interested in a personalized story, please make a submission. It's definitely a place where we can co-create on more of an intimate level, and you can get some feedback on anything that is really weighing on your heart, your soul, that you feel like is going to be of service. And it's really important to have community. That was something that I've had to learn anew, and I continue to each and every day. So thank you, all of you, for that. And of course, please leave a comment, throw a like in there. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how this video sat with you. And until next time, or until the next time we connect, live life fully, dear one.